So if you are on the fence about becoming an adjuster or doing more research to see if it's something that would work for you, this video is for you.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad, they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishan and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life of a small child, all the things. That's something that interests you, go on ahead and click on that subscribe button below. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. All right, so before I became an adjuster, I really had no idea of what I was getting myself into. All I knew was that I wanted a job where I worked 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Prior to that, I was working weekends and all that jazz, so I wanted a little more structure. However, once I became an adjuster, I was like, oh, this is a lot. So today I'm going to talk about what I wished I knew before I became an insurance adjuster. So if you're interested, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so jumping right in, the emotional labor is real. You don't realize how intense it can be to talk to people day in, day out that are going through some of the toughest times of their lives. Now, I've done auto claims and I've also done homeowners claims. Most recently, I've been doing homeowners claims and it can be taxing. So you're talking to people who, they may have a small claim, they may have a big claim, but at the end of the day, their life is affected in some way. And so when you're talking to them, usually they're going through a difficult and stressful time. And you have to be able to empathize, but not let it stress you out to the point where you start acting different and to the point where you're carrying that stress outside of work. So you do have to kind of mentally prepare for that. And I would say that's something that I had to learn on the job. I was not prepared for the temperament of the customers. I was not prepared for, myself to feel away after talking to some people, because some people have really sad stories, depending on what's going on. If you've been watching me, I've been working these wildfire claims for the past year. And I would say, like, out of all of the claims I've ever worked, this is probably the most emotional labor I've had to deal with. So that's something that you definitely want to consider before jumping into an adjuster position. Okay, so the second thing that you want to consider when you are thinking about becoming an adjuster or jumping into the insurance industry is the learning curve. The learning curve is very, very steep. I will say, and I've talked about this in previous videos, but I had an easier time in auto learning the policy and just like applying the policy and being able to explain it and use like the software and tools. I had an easier time in auto than I did in homeowners. Homeowners took some time. It took like about 1.5 to 2 years to be comfortable. But all in all, there's a lot of things at play. So like you're learning not only how to interpret the policy, but then when to bend, when not to bend. You got to learn your supervisor style. Every supervisor is different. Some supervisors are a little more rigid. Other supervisors are a little more flexible. So it's a lot of just like learning the actual job, learning how to interpret and read the reports, and also how to explain this to customers. When you first start, it's literally going to be like you're speaking a different language because it's like a skill that takes time. So I would say if you are planning to jump into insurance, allow yourself some grace. Like, you're not going to master it right away. There are going to be people that master it quicker than others for sure, but it's something that is going to take time, patience, and you're going to have to make sure that you have mentors. I would say even like Googling different, questions and stuff like that. I've been in the industry for almost 11 years and I still find myself having to Google and having to go through the policy and things like that. One thing I can say though is that with the policy, you're not expected to memorize it. You're just expected to know how to use it and know where to find the information that you need for your particular claim. Most policies are written gray to a certain extent, so you can kind of tweak it for the claim. There are going to be things that are hard nosed, but then there's other things that we may be able to consider depending on the situation. So I say all that to say that although it's a steep learning curve, once you know what you're doing, you pretty much can hit the ground running and you don't need much help. But understand that even if you've been in the industry for years, you're still going to have questions. So if you're okay with that and you can give yourself grace, that might not be the biggest problem. Okay, so the third thing that you want to consider prior to jumping into an insurance job is time management. Time management will literally make or break you. It is the difference between adjusters who succeed and get their work done and adjusters who fall behind. It's so easy, like so easy to fall behind. If you watch my day in the life videos, I talk about the workload fluctuating and some of my routines and things like that. I do plan on putting out more routine videos, so look out for those if you are struggling in that area or if you just want to kind of have, another way of doing things. But time management is going to be your best friend. So what has helped me really is just kind of having like an idea of what I do in the morning, an idea of what I do in the afternoon. I start my day the same way, I end my day the same way, and I also allow for flexibility in that routine. Because it is insurance, things change all the time. So I might have my mindset on working on these 3 claims, but then maybe another claim, like something unexpected happens. So I have to pivot and deal with that. So you want to make sure that you are working. I personally like to work the hard things in the morning when I can, just because that's when I'm the most fresh. And honestly, putting it off to the end of the day can give you anxiety and all of that. So I try to just get the hard stuff out of the way in the beginning, like before lunch, if I can help it. And I try to leave the end of the day for simple tasks like follow-ups, uploading bills, paying invoices, things like that. And I also give people a realistic time frame for how long I'm going to need to review something. So I'm not going to get too deep into that in this video, but if you want like a specific video on time management, please let me know. But yes, that is something that if you're not good with that, you need to get good with it before you jump into a claims job. Okay, so the 4th thing I want to talk about today is having people skills. They matter more than you know in this job. I have always had a certain amount of people skills, like I don't know. I've always had people skills, but I've also had a lot of customer focused jobs. So it's a lot of on the job training for me. But you have to kind of be able to do your job, be empathetic, and talk to people how you want them to talk to you. It is one of those positions where you do have to have a lot of tough conversations and you have to tell people no a lot because they could want something taken care of and the policy just simply doesn't cover it. So you have to know how to explain that no in a nice way and in an empathetic way, but then also find ways that you can help them. The thing is, not everybody is going to be happy. Like, you're going to have situations where people are pissed off no matter how nice you are. But having people skills is usually the determining factor when you have those customer service surveys go out. Like, the people that get higher scores are the people that are able to empathize, explain in a logical and empathetic way, but then still, set things in place to resolve the claim. So you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but taking your emotions out of it, understanding that this person is going through a tough time, keeping your human skills, I would say, like being a human, understanding that this person's going through a tough time, that's going to really help you in the long run if you choose to move forward with a claims job. Okay, so the 5th thing I wanted to discuss in this video of things to consider before you become an adjuster. You need a thick skin, but a soft heart. So this kind of piggybacks off of the last one, but you do have to, you can't take everything personally. People are going to talk shit to you. Like, that's just the nature of the business. People are going through very tough times. Not everybody is able to regulate their emotions. Some people will take it out on you because they don't have anybody else to take it out on, or they're just simply frustrated. You have to separate the intent from the impact, I would say. Most people don't intend to go off on you. And yes, there are days where maybe I've had a few difficult customers in a row and I'm like, okay, this is a lot, but I still don't take it personally. There are times where I have to unplug, if it's getting to be too much. I do have to take care of myself, so I'm still able to take care of customers. So much if you're a mom, wife, you got to take care of yourself so you can be good for others. It's that same concept. So you want to still have feelings. You want to still be able to empathize, and you want to still be able to connect with people. But you do have to let a lot of things roll off your back if you're going to be successful and not be arguing all day. Okay, so number 6 is so controversial, but so important. Work-life balance is something that you are going to have to protect. You have to really be intentional about your work-life balance. This is one of those jobs where you have to be comfortable with knowing that not everything is going to get done in one day. So you do the best that you can every day to move your claims forward. I've talked about this before, but you you will always have, like, a lot of times you have 8 hours in a day as far as your work day, unless you're salary, and then you can work however long, and I'll get to that in a second. But typically you have your 8 hours, and unless you plan on doing overtime all the time, you have to make those 8 hours count. So you have to set the expectation and let people know, like, hey, I'm gonna get to this, you know, by this time. And I like to remind people, I understand it's urgent, and I understand that, you know, you need an answer, but I'm gonna need at least 2 days. I'm gonna need at least 3 days to be able to address this. I take my lunches. Like, I don't play about that. I take my lunches and I eat and I unplug. I'm not checking emails. I'm not checking, you know, for statuses on anything like that. I don't care what's going on with any of that while I'm on lunch. Same thing when I log out for the day. I purposely turn off my computer and I turn off my phone. I don't want to hear the notifications. It's literally above me. It's above me when I'm not working. Yes, emergencies are going to come up that you have to address, for sure. But you still need to take care of yourself outside of work. It's just like the people that you're helping, they have jobs. And most of them, I mean, depending on what they do for a living, but most of them aren't on the clock or available 24/7. You have to take care of you. Even if you don't have a family, even if you don't have children, you still have to carve out time for yourself, because burnout is real. And this is one of those jobs where you can easily get burned out if you don't take the proper time for yourself. I recommend this even if you work a salaried position. I've done salary before, and let me just tell you, I was the most burnt out I've ever been in my life. It was the previous job that I had to this one. And that job is very easy to work 10 and 12 hours because there is no clock stopping you. Even with lunch, like, there was a lot of working lunches and things like that. So I say that my recommendation is, if you work salary, you carve out specific times for lunch. You carve out specific times for ending your day, for starting your day, things like that. Because the work is going to be there, whether you finish it or not. And then realistically, your productivity goes down when you're burnt out. So, you know, have your hard stops and hard starts and all that. Take care of yourself, use your PTO. Just make sure that you are thinking about yourself while you're thinking about all those claims. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about, things I wish I knew prior to getting into insurance. This is actually a good one. There is a lot of growth, like a lot of growth that could happen when you embark on an insurance career. A lot of people just see, like, the claims representative, the claims adjuster when they first think about moving into the insurance industry, but there's so many other departments. There's underwriting, there is a special investigations unit, there's training, like, there's leadership. There's so many different avenues that you can go into if you choose to stay in the industry for a prolonged period of time. I've even talked to you guys about, like, my future plans, like how, you know, I've thought about training, I've thought about leadership, but I'm gearing more towards non-customer facing roles. And there's so many different, you know, like, opportunities that you can embark on. Also, a lot of the skills that you gain being an adjuster and working in insurance are so transferable. I cannot tell you how many vendors, like contents vendors, abatement vendors, mitigation vendors, have reached out to me offering employment because they know what we have to go through. A lot of times we're handling the claim from top to bottom, left to right, all that. So I'm handling the dwelling repairs. I'm handling the contents resolution. I'm handling the additional living expenses. And if there's other things outside of that, I'm handling that too. So there are a lot of different hats that you have to wear. And a lot of times those skills, those soft skills and hard skills, honestly, are transferable to other roles in other companies. So keep that in mind. It's hard. It's not easy. It's hard. But if you're able to get through all of the other humps and, you know, be successful, it's definitely something that could pay off a lot in the long run. All right, you guys, so that is all that I have for you today. If you have any questions or anything that I did not touch on in this video, please feel free to leave me a comment, question. I do try to get back to people within like 24 to 48 hours whenever I see a comment on the channel. If you have any specific questions, or if you want to send me an email, I will leave my email right here for you. You can shoot me an email. It usually takes me like a couple days to get back to you, so don't fret. I will not ignore you or anything like that. I can take up to a week depending on like what my workload is like and also like how deep your question is, but I am available. So feel free to reach out, use those resources, use me as a resource if you need. If you enjoyed this video, definitely give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you made it this far and have not subscribed, please go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your back, it's like I never knew you.